I had something to do today. What the hell was it?
We need to post. We need to post right now. It's gonna be upload late. They're gonna be freaking out. It's almost time to post, guys. We need the thumbnail. I'm working with a bunch of jabronis. He's barely with us right now. It's 3 a.m. We need to post now.
Oh, right. Yeah. On today's episode of In an Instant, we're shooting in studio with a model, and then we're gonna shoot outside, do a little comparison with different cameras. Let's just roll that intro real quick.
The kind of photography that would become part of the human being. Press a button and have the picture.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben, and on today's episode, we're gonna talk all about shooting Polaroids in studio using continuous lighting. We're gonna shoot all different types of cameras here and see how they behave with the same lighting setup. Should give you a good point of comparison. I am joined today by a very special guest, one of my closest confidants, one of my closest collaborators, Matty Ice, the man, Matt Lucier. Matt, continue introducing yourself, please.
I am feeling quite frigid because I am made of ice.
Yeah, it's Matty Ice.
Not completely, even remotely true, but
It's very hot today.
Yeah, it's very hot today.
It's very hot.
But I am a novice when it comes to Polaroid or instant camera shooting. I have shot a fair amount digital, also on 35 and 120 medium format. So I'm excited to see how these cameras compare to my usual shooting style.
Yeah, Matt's a prolific film shooter, so it's going to be really interesting to see what he thinks of the different results we get today. And for a lot of people joining this channel, some of them are kind of new to this, and it's going to be interesting to see, how does the Polaroid now, Polaroid's newest camera, perform against the Sun 660 or the top-of-the-line SLR 680. And we're also going to shoot some shots with the Instax 500 AF to give you that Instax color comparison, some sharpness comparison. And just for kicks, we're also going to take a few shots with a 35mm camera and a 120 camera and, give a good look at the differences of the latitude, the sharpness, the ways that all of these cameras behave in the same situation. And then we're going to step outside and do some outdoor stuff. I can't wait to get into it. I mean, should we just go?
Let's get it.
I think let's just get it. All right, folks, we're gonna start out with the SLR 680. The reason we're starting out with this camera is because it's really like the benchmark camera. It's my daily driver. It's the one I know best. And it's really the best camera we have. So I think we should start out with it to test the lighting setup, make sure that everything's exposing properly. And I guess we should talk about the lighting for a bit because it's something you really gotta consider when shooting in studio with Polaroid, the lack of dynamic range that Polaroid has. It's something you always have to consider when you're shooting in a studio with any camera, film or digital, but the fact that Polaroid is gonna lose so much information in shadows and highlights, you need to be extremely conscious of everything you're exposing. So like, for example, we have a pretty strong light just hitting the background right now because it would be black if we didn't do that. And as you can see, we have a light right in front of the computer screen simulating that because we can just turn this computer on, but that light's not gonna be strong enough for a Polaroid.
Love that noise.
Gotta love that noise. Nice. If you can get close, get close. Polaroid film resolves detail when you're close up. It starts losing that detail the further away you get. So sometimes it's real juicy to shoot on something like this just because you can get up there, see the details in the face you just didn't think were possible to capture on Polaroid. So let's go ahead and do that.
Being on camera is a little more stressful than I anticipated. I'm usually behind the camera, but it feels pretty good. I'm a little worried my mom's gonna see this and think that I'm smoking now. So Mom, I am not smoking.
Next up, we've got the Polaroid Now. This is the newest camera that Polaroid has released. It's gonna be interesting to see how the plastic lens holds up against the SLR 680's glass lens and how it resolves detail and also how that lens captures the light and color differently. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Satisfying noise as well.
It's again satisfying. I mean, that's what Matt's here for. It's for the noises.
I am here for the noises.
Yeah.
Noise guy.
He's noise guy. He's noise guy. Great. I love this expression. It looks really good. The other thing about shooting Polaroid in studio that is a little bit challenging is, A, you're completely at the behest of an automatic exposure, unless you have the Mint cameras that are like modified. usually in a scene like this, the light meter will automatically overexpose the image. I left the dial set automatic because I just want to see what this does. But I predict that we're gonna have to use like exposure compensation, pull that down a little bit. This is the Polaroid Sun 660. The reason we're using this camera is this is really the mid-tier vintage camera. So this is something that people still use quite a lot, whether it's an Impulse or a 660. I'm curious to see just how it differs really from the Polaroid now. I think it's gonna be pretty different than the SLR 680. 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
See,
That's a sound.
That's a noise.
That's a noise.
We love that.
Now, the Fuji Contender. The main difference I think we're gonna see here is obviously the color. It's gonna be completely different. Instax color is very different. It's also more contrasty. There's less latitude on Instax film. The colors are more high fidelity, you know, but it's gonna be interesting to see how this behaves in comparison to the Polaroid film. This is Instax wide, so this isn't gonna be the same aspect ratio as the square films, but the reason I chose this was because I think it's gonna be a good stand-in for any Instax film. They all look really similar. Square, mini, wide, it's all the same. So this will give us a good idea of what this looks like in this setup. What do you think of the shutter sound?
Not even remotely close.
Not even close.
Not even a competition.
Not even close. Alright, little dab. I run hot on shoots. What?
I literally just flicked this into my mouth.
What? Oh, do you think you got it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I literally threw it into my mouth.
Okay, so something that might alarm you here is that we're holding a 120 film camera. Don't freak out, we're still an instant film channel. We're still dedicated to the brand. However, I thought it would be interesting just to show you the differences in latitude, color, all that kind of thing from what you would get from like Portra 400 versus Polaroid. That one was real good. Amazing. All right, folks, we just had a grand old time shooting. Matt, you did a great job.
I appreciate it.
You looked both disturbed and happy to be there. It was just this like emotional. I mean, I'm getting emotional just talking about it. It was incredible. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna check out the pics. We're gonna sort of review them, talk about what we're observing. The first set we're gonna be doing is that initial wider shot. So these photos right here, and we're just gonna sort of lay them out here. I'll do this graphically for you viewers at home. And we're sort of just gonna talk about what we see. We've written on the back of every photo what camera it was taken on, and so we're sort of gonna be able to do this blind test here.
Color-wise, it's not as, the blue is not as different as I think I originally thought, but there is definitely a substantial difference in like the color balance of orange.
I mean, the Instax color is definitely more true to life.
Yes.
The color really stands out to me, and the blue is incredible. Honestly, the biggest surprise from this batch to me is that there's not a huge difference in sharpness from any of these. I am actually really impressed with the Polaroid now here. It doesn't have the same like lens sharpness,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it looks good.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it like it has a nice. It has that. I don't think they've lost what I see from these other more vintage cameras. I don't think they've really lost that vintage.
There's still
look.
character to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always think of Polaroids as not like a perfect image. It's more of like capturing that moment. So I think that does a really good job on it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the weirder results was on the Sun 660, which produced a much darker image. It actually looks really good to me. This is actually one of my favorite images.
Yeah.
Because all the other cameras tend to overexpose it. We didn't do exposure compensation on this image. Even so, it came out darker. It's just moodier, and it is definitely not as sharp. I mean, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, purely just looking at between this and the 680, I mean, there is a substantial difference in sharpness. I mean, I'm coming away with this set impressed by the Polaroid now. I think that's my big takeaway. I would definitely agree.
Now, the next set, let's take out, these were the first close-up shots we did. I'm like okay with the framing here. I think some of these shots could have been a little bit more dynamic, maybe if the camera was a bit lower. But there's definitely a wide range of blues here. I think it's really interesting.
Yes. I think you can you notice the Instax way more on this one.
Yeah.
It's like way more, especially in these ones when we have our accidental flash photo, which
Yeah.
I think, when it comes to me, I think looks one of the best.
Yeah.
But I as you know, I love a good flash.
Right.
I
This guy loves the flash.
love the flash.
You're a strobe bro.
I'm a strobe bro.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
a new
that.
term.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt.
Yeah, please do.
But I do think, again, I am impressed. Immediately, I look at the sharpest image, and I can only assume that is the 680.
I know, it's tough because it's like we can really tell. And I think what's most interesting about this image, which, let's look at the back, yes, it's the SLR 680 with no exposure compensation, is that the blue background completely disappeared in this image. But at the same time, I still think this is probably my favorite of the bunch.
I agree. I mean, the sharpness, but even like the fall off of this, like where the cigarette is focused in my hand, I think is really nice.
I say this all the time, but the experience of shooting with the SLR 680 or the SX70 is so night and day from the Polaroid Now, the Sun 660, because this photo, I could see that it was going to be in focus. The fact that the Polaroid Now photo and the 660 photo are soft, I have no idea why. Like if I took this with the SLR 680, I would know it was out of focus because I could see it was out of focus. And if I wasn't hitting focus with the autofocus, I could have switched to manual. So, and I just think it's another win, but that's something we assumed.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on.
We just have to remember that the 660 has the best noise.
The 660 has the best noise.
And it will win in the best noise
And the fact
category.
that you're remembering the difference between the 660 and the 680 is very impressive to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we've been doing this all day, but like it's pretty impressive.
Oh no, 100%.
Yeah. This guy just learned this today. All right. So let's go to the next shot. This was our second close-up. So this one's a bit of a mixed bag.
But I actually think we have, for me personally, I think there is a new contender when it comes to this category. And I think that it's Fuji making its way into this one that I think is the best. I think this image right here is definitely my favorite of the group because I think it still has the character, but compared to all of the other Instax ones, it is by far so much sharper. And I don't know why.
So much sharper. Matt was making the observation that he thinks that the fact that you push down on the shutter of a Fuji Instax camera might introduce camera shake, which is an interesting theory. Because, this was a little bit further away from the subject, but it's possible that in this lower lighting situation, the Instax's shutter speed was just too low. But in this situation, it did come out, and it's so sharp. I mean,
and in this one, you do get the blues.
So that wraps up the stuff we did indoors.
It's a good bunch.
It was a good bunch. I actually liked this shot more than I thought it's...
Yeah.
I mean, your expression was just superb. I mean, you're doing such great work
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
I will invoice you later.
Please don't. So this series is a little bit different. We didn't do a direct side-by-side for every shot. It's a little bit more of a hodgepodge. But this is interesting to look at after leaving the studio because it really shows you what sunlight does to Polaroids and sort of what that does to sharpness and how that compensates for some of the drawbacks, for example, of the Polaroid Now. When you look at the SLR 680 image versus the Polaroid Now image, it's not that different. I mean, you can tell, but you have to pixel peep, really.
Yeah. I mean, first off, it's pretty insane that you were able to recognize these without even looking. That's impressive. But yeah, no, I don't think there is. We don't have as much of a problem. I think it's a little bit sharper. Like the Now is sharper than it was in the studio.
Yes,
setup.
yeah. The Now is performing better out here.
Definitely. And color stock wise, very similar. I mean, it is the same film. But I don't think you're getting the lens is not affecting the color at all.
And what's interesting here too is that now we can look at these Fuji images, and this is a situation where I actually like the Polaroid color better. I think this is where, I mean, you might disagree, but you can see that red is so much bolder and matches your skin tone a lot more pleasingly, I think, than on Fuji.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Fuji feels I don't know what the right word I'm looking for. Is it
real?
It does,
true to life?
Yeah. Yes, in a way, but I guess you lose the character that you get out of.
It's more desaturated than I would have expected.
For sure. But interesting, some parts of it aren't, and I think that's just like interesting. It's just the difference in like the film stock, I think.
But they're really sharp.
Yeah, like it's interesting how red the Kodak is on my shirt compared to the rest of the
Right.
image.
And it's funny to look also at an Instax Mini, which the flash went off. You know, it's an Instax Mini. There's no override. It still looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, the Instax Mini, this was on the Mini 8. It's a great camera. We do have some overexposure on the close-up shot, but the two wider shots look great. This is an awesome shot. I just sort
Yeah,
of
I agree.
I love the
It looks like a robot.
the footholds.
Yes.
Are such a cool pattern.
You can see those long, loosier legs.
You could, yeah, those are some long legs. You dripping. You are dripping. And then let's look at that versus the Polaroid. Not bad. I mean, these are actually kind of comparable.
Yeah. I'm about to say not as big of a difference from
Yeah.
the larger scale Instax
Yeah.
to the Polaroid.
Really, the wider you are, the less differences you're going to notice in general, just because the wider you are with instant film, you're just going to start losing information. But in these tight shots, this is such. I love this photo.
I agree.
This is a great
I look
photo.
at that one and I say, the sunglasses or the glasses have almost become like Bono sunglasses.
Yeah, which is unexpected.
Unexpected.
Because I think these are supposed to be like seeing glasses. I didn't know they were going to do that in the sunlight, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, I like it. That is
Yeah.
that may be my
Favorite of mine.
Instagrammable pick of the day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is what we're always thinking about, folks.
Yeah.
What's going to work on Instagram? Because
Yes.
we're slaves to the platform.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So that wraps up our shots. Matt, do you have any like last words? I mean, you just experienced a day shooting Polaroids. What was it like for you?
I think it was more impressive than I thought it was going to be. I think that the 680 for sure is a really, really nice camera, and we were just talking before we started shooting that. I think that it holds up extremely well.
Yeah.
Currently, and just like the actual material of the camera, just you can tell
Yeah, it's so solid.
that it was a really well built craftsmanship item
Yeah.
of earlier eras of our lives.
So the difference of price here, just to give you some context, this would probably be like $250.
Okay.
The Polaroid now would probably be $100.
Okay.
The Sun 660 you could get for probably $50 or less, and the Instax 500 AF, which is like 200 something dollars. But let's take that out of the equation. If you were gonna buy a Polaroid camera today, based on what you saw today, what would you do?
That's hard. I guess I don't know. I think I would maybe be tempted to go with
Yeah.
the Now, just because it's like it fits. It's a little bit smaller. I wouldn't worry as much about the actual camera. I always get worried like when I take film cameras out that it's like you never know when that one little part that's been working for
Right,
50, you know,
yeah.
40 to 50 years is just gonna randomly stop. So I think if I was just going out with friends or I was having just like a small
Right.
shoot, and it's not that it's super important to me to have a perfect image every time.
Right.
Then I'd probably go with the Now.
Yeah.
But if I had endless amounts of money or my stimulus check finally hits
Yeah,
my
if
bank
that finally
account,
hits.
I'm definitely going with the 680.
Love it.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for doing your incredible modeling skills. Plug your Instagram.
Oh, Instagram is who is Matt Lucier. You got a little taste of who Matt Lucier is, but maybe
Yeah,
you can
this
find out
guy,
a
this
little
is a
more.
great guy. You gotta follow him. Gotta follow his account. Thank you for watching In an Instant. Stay tuned for more reviews, breakdowns, all things instant, more shoots like this. Leave a few comments maybe if you dug it. Smash that subscribe button for heaven's sake. And bye.
Bye.